Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're checking out the new Steam Link today, and this is made by Valve, the same people who make the Steam platform. They're getting into the hardware business now. Now what this does is it allows you to stream games from a gaming PC running the Steam software in one room to a television in another room via the Steam in-home streaming protocol. This is not a new thing. You could do that, of course, if you had a gaming PC as well as another computer to connect to it, but this will do the same thing as that second PC could do for $50. So $50, you plug this thing into your television and you can grab your games and play them over your home network quite well, actually. This really does a nice job of streaming things in the home. We're going to check out some gaming performance on here shortly. Now, there are 3 USB ports on here for connecting controllers, and it has a good amount of controller compatibility provided you are plugging them in via a wire. So I was able to get my PS3 controller to work just fine, as well as the Xbox One controller too. However, both of these had to be plugged in. They did not work wirelessly with this device. I would imagine at some point we're going to see, actually I think it's coming out pretty soon, a wireless dongle for the Xbox One controller that might solve that problem. It does work with the Xbox 360 wireless dongle, so what you do is plug this device into the Steam device here via the USB cable, and then you can use an Xbox 360 controller wirelessly. But at the moment, the Xbox One and PS3 controllers have to be plugged in directly with a wire, so you may want to get a long USB cable to tether into it. It also has Bluetooth on board, but I could not get it functioning with a lot of the Android-focused Bluetooth controllers we've reviewed on the channel over the last couple of months. So I think you probably need a controller that is pretty much a standard Bluetooth game controller and not something that's designed for an Android device. So that was the one hiccup on the Bluetooth side. It also works with the new Valve controller. So there's an actual Steam controller now too, in addition to the Link here. And I've been playing with this. I'm going to probably do a separate video on this controller because I am not a big fan of this at the moment. It really isn't working very well. It's very complicated to get operating, and I'm just not getting it. So I need to spend some more time with this thing, and maybe some of you can comment on it who have bought one of these also, because I'm really disappointed with this controller at the moment. But this does work wirelessly, provided you plug its wireless dongle into one of these USB ports. So that is why there are 3 USB ports on here, so you can connect multiple controllers up and get everything working. So it does have a lot of flexibility on controllers, a little bit less flexibility on the wireless side of things at the moment. Now you're going to notice here there's also a Ethernet port. This is 100 megabit Ethernet, and it works just fine at 100 megabits because you're just streaming basically the video image from your gaming PC and sending back controller input data back to that PC. So you don't need a tremendous amount of bandwidth for that, so 100 megabits for that is fine. There is Wi-Fi on board, but they very strongly urge you to connect it via the Ethernet because wireless is going to be hit or miss. It does not support AC wireless. It only goes up to wireless N. It does support the 5 gigahertz band, so that might give you a little bit of extra leeway there, but you're going to get little anomalies in the gameplay with wireless no matter how good the signal is. So you really want to connect it up with Ethernet from your desktop computer to this one. So maybe call the electrician if you need to get those wires run. And then you've got the HDMI port here. This will stream video to your television at 1080p 60 at the max. So 60 frames per second at 1080. Does not support 4K, but I did connect it up with my 4K TV. Of course, it upconverts it to whatever its standard resolution is, which is 4K. So you can play the 1080p games on a 4K TV at 60 frames per second, but you're not going to get true 4K video if your gaming PC supports it at the moment. But I think 1080p 60 is a good target to hit, and it actually does it very, very well. So that is the overall hardware. We're going to plug this thing in now and see how it all works and how it connects to the PC. So let's get this thing hooked up. All right, so we've got everything hooked up. This is what you're going to see when it plugs in. This is a very simple device. It only does one thing, so you're not going to be bombarded with a whole operating system to kind of wade through. So I've already pre-configured my gaming computer. We'll connect to that in a second. You can add additional computers, though, if you wish. So if you have other gaming PCs running Steam, you can add them to the list here, and you can connect to them one at a time. There are a few settings that I wanted to show you first before we got into too much stuff here. You can connect your Bluetooth devices on this option here. By the way, in addition to connecting with game controllers, again, not the Android game controllers, but the regular Bluetooth game controller, you can also connect mice and keyboards via Bluetooth, as well as connecting mice and keyboards via USB. So you can kind of replicate a little computer setup with this where you're using a mouse and keyboard for controlling the device. The display option here is just to adjust the overall zoom of the image. So if your TV is zooming the image in too far, you can make some adjustments like so to get it into the right setting there. Language is just setting the language of the device. Network is where you'll access your wireless connections if you really want to use it, although I again recommend strictly sticking to the wired Ethernet for your networking connection. In streaming, I do recommend switching off from the balanced mode, which is the default, and going to beautiful, because if you're on Ethernet, you've got the bandwidth to make this work, and it's going to look a lot nicer on beautiful. So I would leave it as beautiful as you're playing around with it. System is just for your system updates, and you have to have a USB stick to do the system updates. It downloads to the USB stick to update it. So make sure you have a USB stick handy whenever one of those updates comes down. You'll likely have to install the first update when you buy this initially. So get that USB stick out there to get going. So we're going to start playing now, and this is what you do. We're going to select our gaming PC here, and it'll connect up. It will automatically switch your gaming PC into big picture mode, so you'll get this interface, which is something you may have seen before if you have used big picture mode, but if you haven't, it will automatically select that mode. You can't really use the other method on here because this is a TV device. There is a way to buy games via their store. That's front and center. You can also browse your gaming library. There's even a web browser. If you hit the left button on the controller, you can go ahead and view some web pages on there. And you can also talk to your friends on here too. So you've got some options for doing a lot of the standard kind of Steam functions there. We'll go into the library though. We're going to load up Rocket League real quick and get a feel for how well this looks. Just note though that we are running at 30 frames per second on this channel still, so you're not going to get a feel for the 60 frames per second mode, but I can tell you, having played with this on my television, which supports 1080p 60, I can verify it is running at the full 60 frames per second, and it looks great. So you'll be able to pretty much get the same image quality you have on your gaming PC over to your television with this device. So let's take a look now at Rocket League. All right, here we are playing Rocket League. It looks quite nice on here. It seems to be running at a decent frame rate. Again, we're only capturing here at 30 frames per second, and my video system is likely down converting from that 60 frames to 30 frames. So it might look a little bit jumpier than it might otherwise on your computer screen, but you can get a feel for what the image quality is at least. And again, on a 60 frames per second TV, this looked really, really nice. So it does feel pretty much the same as it does when I'm streaming to one of my computers. It has relatively low lag on the controller input. I did find that using the Xbox 360 controller did introduce a very, very minimally noticeable delay in input. I found that the wired controller as well as the Valve controller seem to work with a little bit less lag, but it really doesn't feel any different than it does on my computer that I'm normally streaming to in the house here. So I think this is a pretty good analog to using a regular computer to stream your games over your network. So as you can see here, it really does look nice, streams nicely, no artifacts that I can see at least here playing, and it really looked nice on my 60-inch television in the other room too. So I think it's going to be a really nice solution for streaming your games from your gaming PC over your network in your home. And the only real issue at the moment is just trying to get the right controllers to work with it wirelessly. I think that'll be something we'll see develop over time. But at the moment, you can certainly get that Xbox 360 controller working well. Again, it just feels a little bit laggier than it does with the wired controllers plugged in, but I think those will be things that will be improved over time. I'm really hopeful that when the wireless dongle for the Xbox One controller comes out, we'll be able to get that to work with this, because I really like the way this controller feels, and I'm often playing with this on my gaming PC when I'm in front of it, so it'd be nice to be able to use that same controller a little bit further away from my TV than I can currently. But I'm pretty impressed with it. For $50, this is a great way to get games streamed to your television, and it does it quite well. And it's nice to see a device that just does one thing and does that one thing exactly as you expect it to, and that's what I can say for sure about the Steam Link. This is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments below, and we'll do a few follow-ups. Thanks again. This channel is brought to you by the generosity of my Patreon supporters. If you find the channel helpful, you too can contribute for as little as $1 a month. Visit Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more.